Hello, welcome back to my new reading log. So this week I'm still doing a catch up all the manga that I haven't read for a while, and a great example is this one. This one's called Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You. I read volume 2 and 3. I like this story. It's a very cute, almost like slice of life between Mr. Sasaki and Miss Tamaya smoking behind the supermarket. However, Mr. Sasaki doesn't know her true identity because whenever he goes to the supermarket, he's always feeling happy to see Miss Yamada. Miss Yamada and Miss Tamaya is the same person. It's just that Miss Tamaya looks different after work because she dressed so very different. For now, Miss Tamaya is hiding her other identity. I think it's because she just have a good time being Miss Tamaya and Miss Yamada, and at the same time, Mr. Sasaki seems also happy, encountering with Miss Yamada as well as Miss Tamaya. Sorry if that was confusing. So far, they're just always smoking behind the supermarket, having a good time, getting to know each other. Mr. Sasaki, he has a very stressful job, and so smoking with Miss Tamaya always help him at ease, and it's sort of like a stress reliever. There is an age gap. Mr. Sasaki is in his 40s. I think Miss Tamaya is either in her early 20s. It doesn't say, but when it comes to their relationship, I think it's just very friendly and mutual. There might be a little bit of romance, who knows? In the end, I think Miss Tayama is very flavorful and very invested towards Mr. Sasaki because he's a very interesting person, being a middle-aged guy. And this 2 volumes also talks about how they started smoking. It's kind of interesting because I think Miss Tamaya started smoking because of Mr. Sasaki, and then Mr. Sasaki started smoking because of someone he knows years ago. It was an old fling, a senpai that he admired, but that was so cool to read about how they started smoking. Miss Tamaya's co-workers are so cool. They support what she does, even though I find it a little bit mischievous. Other than that, we also get to meet another character who also smoked. He's kind of shy. He also worked in the same supermarket as Miss Tamaya. Other than that, I really like the story. I just ordered volume 4. Volume 5 does not come out, I think, on August. Yes, this series has a slow release, but you know what? I really don't mind. Oh, so this couple pages is colored. So this is Miss Yamada and Miss Tamaya, same person, and that's Mr. Sasaki. So some of the pages are colored, but so cool to read. I really enjoy a lot. Looking forward, even though volume 5 is not until August, but I'm looking forward to read volume 4. Alright, I just finished reading Insomniacs After School, read volume 7 and 8. I just really like this story. It's pretty laid back, slice of life, and of course there's definitely romance between our two main characters, Marguerite and Nakami. In the last volume, they were spending time together during summer to take some pictures. However, at the very end, Marguerite got in trouble because they were sort of unsupervised by an adult, and they were just the two of them alone. And then when she got picked up, her parents were so mad. I think we finally figured out why they were so mad, because Marguerite has a health condition, and of course they were so worried about her, and ever since then she was kind of banned using her phone and seeing Nakami, as well as going to their club. But after that, now that it is over, she's finally got her cell phone back. Even though they weren't able to talk or see each other, they always find a way because they are in the same club. And so now these two have officially, sorry for spoiler, started dating because their feelings toward each other has always been there. And at the same time, the club has also been officially recognized because Nakami's photography won a contest. Even though it wasn't the main winner, he still won. And so now they have this budget for their club, and so this way they can finally go somewhere far and take more pictures, because Nakami wants to continue taking more pictures, even though the club is mostly focused on astronomy, but it still deals with astronomy, if that makes sense. And at the same time, they're trying to get new members. However, it's been kind of difficult, but for now these two are just loving being the only members in the club. But they also have their advisor plus a cat. So overall, This story is just super nice. I really like it. It's so easy to read and very fast. Unfortunately, this is gonna end in 2 more volumes. So volume 9 is out. I'm not sure when volume 10 is gonna be out. You can definitely see the determination about these two main characters towards the club as well as for each other. Aside from that, the story also talks about their classmate. The classmate is very caring and very supportive of what they do and whatever goes in and out about being a high school student. So definitely recommend this story if you want something short and fast. I just think this story is pretty laid back and relaxing, and it's just full of adventure about them going to places, taking pictures. And if you like anything astronomy, but I know it doesn't really focus too much on astronomy, just really talk about their daily thing. And yeah, definitely looking forward to read more of these. All right, I just finished this manga series called Alice in Kyoto Forest. This is volume 2. It's a big fantasy. Basically, Alice went back to her old hometown, Kyoto, but then she realized it's a different Kyoto. Let's just say she stepped to another world, and then she found out that in order for her to stay in this world, she has to find out what she loves to do. Now, in this world, everything is given to you. There's no currency. However, the longer you stay here and lie to yourself, apparently you end up growing old. So it took Alice a while to figure out what she wanted to do. She had to meet a cartographer. Apparently he knows everything about this world, and apparently he also came from the same world as Alice. Somehow he also ended up in this world probably about 40 years ago, yet he looks young. So in this world, you don't age, I guess. That's only if you don't know what you want to do or lie, you do end up aging, because Alice did age for a little while, but then she actually came to her true normal self because now she knows what she wanted to do, and that is open a bookstore because she loves to read. Because one day she read to a bunch of children and noticed that she was getting younger, and then she has a friend of a bunny or a rabbit and a frog. Somehow they became friends, and now they're just tagging along with Alice and kind of helping her with her situation. Anyway, back to the cartographer. He was just telling her everything she needs to know, and then one day he went to the Imperial Palace because he works there. And then on top of that, Alice's other goal is to meet a childhood friend she met long time ago, and somehow he disappeared, and she believed he's here because one day she saw the prince, and the prince looked like him, and his name is Ren. So she had this idea to go with the cartographer, and maybe he can talk to the prince. Of course, that's gonna take some time because this is the Imperial Palace. However, she did get a glimpse of the prince, but the prince apparently didn't recognize her, and so she was kind of sad. But there's a twist in this story. As I mentioned, there's a frog and a rabbit. Now, apparently, the prince in the story is not the real prince, because when Ren was trying to go back to this world, something happened to him, and during this time, also the princess disappeared, and then Alice wanted to help out because she kind of read to her when she was at the Imperial Palace, and they found out there's like a cult who's been kidnapping young kids for sacrifice. Anyway, she also got kidnapped, and then something went wrong, but everything was fine after that because the Imperial Guards was able to save them. After that situation, she remembered that someone told her that there must be a reason why she was called out in this world, and then she kind of put 2 and 2, and then she kind of figured out where is Ren. Let's just say the bunny and the frog, one of them is Ren. I won't say who, but of course, Ren finally turned to his normal self because Alice figured it out. And of course, they're both happy to see each other because Ren made a promise to Alice that he was going to marry her. And now she's like, oh my God, he's a prince. So the prince that was currently pretending to be a prince was someone else. So now we found the real Ren, the prince. Anywho, this story is just adorable. It's a big fantasy, almost like Alice in Wonderland, but somehow also connected with other fairy tale stories like The Princess and the Frog. Overall, really like the story so far, except volume 3 hasn't been out in English, only in Japanese, so it looks like this series is very slow on the release, but at the same time there is no cliffhanger, so I can definitely wait, and hopefully that volume 3 will come out soon. If not, oh no. As you can see, I just finished reading this series called Royal Tailor Closer to the Crown. I read 2 and 3. This is just a big fantasy story. The more I read, the more I learn as well, because you just have all different species. Now our main character Hannah, she's actually human, and she's surrounded by all different type of species. However, many hundred years ago, apparently there was like a big battle between human and all type of species. However, in this time, human are either seen weak or human are afraid of the different kind of species, so they're mostly in hiding, except Hannah, because Hannah is actually an orphan who was adopted by a vampire. This is the vampire. He's actually a priest, and so this is sort of like Hannah's guardian or father. Anyway, in this volume, the father is very overprotected. One day he witnessed Hannah getting not harassed but almost got hurt by a certain beast, and so his father was in shock and decided to take her home. But Hannah really loved her job being a tailor to the crown or anybody in the kingdom. Hannah, growing up, she was very overly protected by the father because humans are not being treated fairly and nice in this kingdom. But later on, his father realized that he needs to let go his daughter and let her be her own person, and the fact that she loves her job and it makes her happy. And besides, she's surrounded with a lot of people who cares about her, and she's very also protected by her own peers, co-workers, and friends. And so the father finally decided to let her go. And this story consists of mostly of the kingdom's king's wife. In other words, the king has about 11 wives, and sometimes she caters to their kind of issue or certain situation where one of the wife was bored. She wants to battle with the king, but it seems like the king doesn't have any energy or he's not interested, so she helps her create a dress, and then the king and the wife decide to go on a date, and it was very successful. So basically she makes dresses to the wives or anybody in the kingdom, and it kind of helped their situation get better and for the best. And so again, the king has a lot of wives, so that was one wife. Then another wife, she's always busy with military stuff, and she comes home very serious. And one day they went on a date as well, and then Hannah made her a dress, and the king was of course, surprisingly shocked, and they had a nice date. However, since she's sort of like a very busy person, she left and attend another military stuff. And then there was another wife where she's sort of like a slime, and then she consumed too much, and sometimes her slime gets out of control, and the king decided to tend her with her situation. So they went on a date as well, and then Hannah made her a dress, and that date also was very successful. So it's a really interesting story, the fact that she's helping all of this situation regarding to the kingdom, especially the wives. And it seems like the king is very busy with a lot of wives in hand. I think he needs to kind of like go one-on-one on dates with them just to make sure everybody's happy. So far, I think they already mentioned about 4 wives, because again, he has 11 wives. Besides all that, Hannah is also helping one of the wives to figure out that there might be a chance that one of the other wives is planning to assassinate the king. So that's another situation. But other than that, as a whole, this story is really nice. It's a big fantasy. Again, the more I read, the more I learn, because I thought there was just certain type of species, but no, there's more species in the story that it keeps mentioning. And also there's a beast kingdom. I think that beast kingdom is still at war with other species, because maybe they just want to rule over everything or something like that. But overall, I really like this story. Can't wait for volume 4. Again, a big fantasy. I'm gonna show you guys some inside. Really fun, big fantasy story. I really like it because there was this one time Hannah went on a date with her so-called father. It was cute and fun, but it seems like that father or the priest or the guardian might be more than a father, if that makes sense, but we'll see what will happen next. I know this is not part of the catch up, but I wanted to read something new, kind of like freshen it up. So this one's called My Lovesick Life as a 90s Otaku by Nico Nicolason. This is volume 1. So far, the story is very eccentric, kind of exaggerate when it comes to the emotion. Here we have our main character, Megumi. In real time, she's a single mother in her 40s, trying to compare like the current anime lifestyle versus back in her days, because back in her days when she was in her teens, being an otaku who loves anime and manga, it was kind of hard for her to express it because people find it weird or something else, that she decided to transfer to another school so this way she can be normal. However, it's really hard for her to keep it normal when she really loves manga and anime. And when she started this new school, she kind of left like a bad impression. However, ever since the president of the class started talking to her, then all of a sudden the classmates started talking to her because the class president is super popular. And then like he's getting to know her as well as showing her around the class or in the school. But then she's slowly kind of like falling for him because, you know, she loves to read a lot of shoujo manga, and she's trying to like compare this and that and sort of fantasize at the same time. Most of the time she's trying to act cool and normal, but deep inside she just loves to compare a lot of things to reading to manga and watching anime. And then on top of that, there's a classmate in the same class who reads manga out there, and she's very brave to do that because, again, back in the days, whoever loves anime and manga, they find it weird. And apparently the president of the store despises otaku, so she's been kind of turned how to act towards him, whether to act normal or try to slowly act like an otaku, because she wants to tell him, but then knowing the fact that he hates otaku is kind of hard for her at the same time. Other than that, it's a nice story, just seeing someone who's very into manga and anime and trying to keep it together, but at the same time it's kind of hard for her because she just love it. Basically, the entire time of the story, she's just torn between being an otaku or trying to act normal so this way the student will like her. I think it's because ever since the president started talking to her, and she just like wants to keep it normal. Oh, she also has a pen pal, and in this pen pal, she thinks it's a girl, but it's actually a guy. So that's another twist from the story. Other than that, it's not bad so far. It is a short series, which I don't mind, so I'm gonna keep reading and see where it goes, and maybe we'll find out whether if not she's gonna still act normal, or maybe she'll confess one day, or just let it out and just be herself. She's definitely struggling about her identity, especially coming to this new school, but at the same time, deep inside, she's just a real otaku, and it's been a challenge for her to whether or not be herself. So the moral of this story is just be yourself and don't be afraid who you are. So let me just show you guys some insight. Really like the illustration. It's very simple. Really like it. And yeah, not so bad so far. It's a lot of like emotion, kind of exaggerated, but you know what? It's sort of entertaining. I mean, it's still entertaining. I'm finally reading Tales of the Tendo Family by Ken Saito, read 2 and 3. A little recap: Ran pretended to be Hojo-jan because she didn't want to marry in this family, which is Tendo family, so she agreed. However, she got caught to be pretending someone else, and they're still looking for the real Hojo-san. And so after getting caught, Masato is supposed to be the fiance, decided to take her in because she was living in the mountain by herself, but then Masato did something to her place, and now she's pretending to be servant. Let's just say they took her in because they have no choice. And I think she's still pretending to be for Hojo-jan in case there's like other events, which is there is going to be another event. It's like another viewing party, but for now she's just staying as a servant, pretending to be someone's cousin who is also a servant to the family. In the meantime, she's a servant, but time to time on the side, she's learning how to write and read because whenever they need her to pretend as a Hojo-san, they still need to help her work on to have a proper manners and stuff like that. And so there's this character named Tachibana who's supposed to be her fake cousin, has been teaching her all the things that she need in order to get ready this next upcoming viewing party. So the relationship with Ran and Masato is very mutual but sometimes playful. I feel like Masato is kind of like conniving and kind of like calculated. He's sort of unpredictable, but his character reminds me of another character of that story. I completely forgot, but anyway, besides all that, Masato and Ran actually went to in town one day because they heard that there's a lookalike of Hojo-san, but apparently it was not Hojo-san. Now, when it comes to Ran, she's a pretty interesting character. She's very knowledgeable when it comes to physical stuff because she just know especially about martial arts and protecting people, because her main goal is to die while saving someone. And so sometimes she has no choice but to save people whenever they need help. But then Masato sometimes gets irritated because Masato told Ran, and Ran agreed to protect Masato in case something happened to him. But of course, it's natural for Ran to save people because that's just who she is. And then in the story, there's also this two character that they're planning to assassinate the Hojo-san. Now, I'm a little bit confused if these two characters are part of the Tendo family or somewhere in the story, but yeah, I got a little confused, but I guess we'll find out in the next volume because there's that viewing party that's coming up, and whether or not Ran will succeed pretending to be Hojo-san, and also whether these two characters will succeed as their plan to assassinate Hojo-san. But then again, Ran is very skillful and very quick when it comes to in a dangerous situation. Other than that, I really like the story so far. It's quite interesting. There's a little bit twist here and there and a lot of big mystery, especially from the Tendo family. I do have volume 4, but I'm gonna wait and grab more volumes so this way I don't get stuck. And what if there's a cliffhanger now, then I have to grab more volumes. So either way, I'm looking forward to read more of this manga. Let me know if you guys have read this. I feel like nobody really talked about this manga. Just now, I just finished reading Astra, Lost in Space, story and art by Kenta Shinohara. I read volume 2. I was about to read volume 3, but I decided to just leave it and save it next time because volume 2 did not leave a cliffhanger. So we got a bunch of students. I think there's about, let me check. There's 5 boys and 4 girls. There's a total of 9 of them. They were supposed to go to a camp, and then something happened. This mysterious orb appeared out of nowhere. They went into the orb, and then they were in the space, and then they found a spaceship called Astra, and now they're trying to figure out how to get home, but they need to find a closest planet so this way they can grab some supplies. At first, the 9 of them didn't get along, but they realized they have to get along because in order to survive, they have to work together and make it through until they get home. So they found a nearby planet. However, they were hit by small meteoroids, and so the spaceship got hit and there was a small hole, and they did patch it up. However, the planet that was nearby, I guess gravity is so strong that the ship was getting pulled. However, there was something wrong with the engine, and their gravity inside the spaceship was malfunctioning, and so they had to find a way to make everything work. And then they survived landing this planet called Shamor. So this planet Shamor has a lot of plants and very friendly animals. However, these weird tall plants decided to release some pores, and apparently it was very toxic. So some of them got sick. However, they found a way to revive because there were certain plants that work as an antidote. Arriving on this planet, of course, they face some obstacles, and especially trying to work together and avoid fights, but sometimes it cannot be helped. So there was a character named Hyunha. She felt like she's not very useful, so one day she kind of ran away, and then something happened, and then she actually not released but share her own talent that she can sing. I think growing up, her mom always was very negative, and so she had a very negative aspect to herself, but she realized all these people on this ship just want her to do her best. It's okay if she doesn't have anything special, but yeah, what a great volume 2. They learn a lot just working together and being there for each other because they need to get home. Now, they do have a captain. His name is Kanata. At first, they were kind of bickering who should be the captain, but he decided to just do it. At first, they had like a suspicion that maybe someone was doing this purposely or someone's trying to target them, but then they realized they can't be thinking about that right now because their main goal is to get supplies, because their supplies is very short and they have to make sure that each supplies or each planet that they enter, it will last, especially reaching their destination. So far, I really like the story because I love reading anything about space, and this story just teaches you how to survive, especially if you know something or not. But the most important is working together and not let anyone feel behind. So this series has only 5 volumes, so it's a short series. So next time I'll probably binge the rest. Okay, I'm gonna end this reading log. This week was really good. I was able to read some series that I haven't read for a while and a new series that I started. So this one's called My Lovesick Life as a 90s Otaku. This was not bad. I would say it's a little bit eccentric, but you know what? It's cute because you get to learn about someone who's very into, anime and manga. And back then, it was kind of like hard to express it. And then we also have Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You. Really like the story. It's just about 2 adults just having a good time, a little bit quirky and fun at the same time. Then we got Insomniacs After School. This series is about to end, sadly. I like it because it's all about astronomy and the fact that I can relate because I do have insomnia problem. Next, we have a big fantasy, Alice in Kyoto Forest. It's getting good. Hopefully, they'll announce volume 3 pretty soon, hopefully soon. And then next, Royal Tailor, Clothier to the Crown. I really like the story because you can learn a lot from each character, the struggle, and the fact that wearing something nice does solve a lot of things. Then we have Tales of the Tendo Family. I'd say it's still a mystery, but we're slowly getting to know the family, the fact that it's a little bit dysfunctional, yet a little bit in the twister side, if that makes sense. Lastly, we got Astra, Lost in Space. Really like the series so far. This one is also a short series. Hopefully that eventually they will get home soon, but I'm pretty sure they'll find some struggles along the way. Let me know if you guys have read this manga or tell me what you think. Other than that, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this reading log. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.